Okay, we'll start with this. Well, up-and-coming blue-chip prospect Sandy Ryan was action over there in Milan against journeywoman Alexandra Vujovic, a veteran of 20 professional contests, 20 professional bouts, 21 now.
Only ever been stopped once ahead of this fight.
About 4 years ago at the hands of Belgium's own unbeaten Oshin Diriyu.
Sandy Ryan is now the second woman to stop Alexandra.
Alexandra, who's got an upside-down record, that's expected at this level. 4 wins, 14 losses, 2 draws ahead of this fight.
15 losses now.
You know, I saw Sandy Ryan's pro debut against Kirsty Bavington, 6-rounder that went the distance. And even though it went the distance, I could tell Sandy Ryan, she's a puncher. There's
some mustard on that hot dog.
She picked her shots very well in this fight. You know, Alexandra, she tried to get off to an aggressive, rather scrappy start.
Looked like she was trying to charge Sandy.
Sandy wasn't bothered by it in the least bit. Very poised, very controlled, very assertive. She looked strong. Alexandra resorted to trying to smother Sandy Ryan's work, not allowing her to establish the jab, though throughout, from the first round to the 4th round, where the fight ended.
The fight was scheduled for 6.
Sandy ended it in 4. Throughout the entirety of the contest, she made a conscientious effort to go to Alexandra's body.
The headshots weren't really there for her.
Proved difficult to land some power shots upstairs as Alexandra kept diving into a clinch, attempting to smother Sandy Ryan's work, making it a clinch fest. But throughout, Sandy Ryan always managed to sneak in some compact hooks to the body. It was the body shots that broke down Alexandra Vujovic, and it was the body shots that dropped and stopped Alexandra Vujovic. One body shot actually lifted her off her feet. Sandy Ryan packs punch, a compact left hook.
I like what I saw.
Sandy Ryan exhibits a lot of admirable qualities as a fighter. She knows what she's doing. She knows how to pick her shots.
Maintain her footing.
In order to assert herself, she's got a mean streak. She's spiteful, but she's no come-forward mauler or brawler. She's more educated than that. She set those hooks up really well, firing shots at Alexandria's guard.
Firing shots upstairs.
And as Alexandria is covering up to protect herself, her midsection becomes exposed and Sandy plants one on her.
Good stuff.
Post-fight, we heard Eddie Hearn say that he wants to get Sandy out there one more time before this year is out, and I like that idea. I like the idea of keeping this fighter as busy as they can be while they're at this level so they can continue to garner professional experience. The question was asked post-fight, when could we expect to see Sandy Ryan fighting for a title? And it's far too soon for all of that. I mean, I'd give Sandy at least 1.5 years to 2 years before she's ready to challenge someone like a Mary McGee or a Kaylee Reese or a Chantel Cameron or a Jessica Kamara. All those girls are set to mix it up with each other later on this year.
Chantel's unifying with Mary.
Kaylee's unifying with Jessica. By the time that Sandy Ryan is ready to challenge for a world title, by the time she's ready to fight for one, the landscape at 140 pounds could look very different, because I don't think she's going to be ready to take on some of these girls for at least another 1.5 to 2 years. No sense in rushing her.
There's no sense in doing that.
So let the champions and the experienced fighters settle up with each other and let Sandy develop as a fighter accordingly. Congratulations to her for advancing to a professional record of 2 wins with 1 knockout, and doing so in style. In other news, in reference to what's supposed to be the inaugural Bridgerweight division title fight between Oscar Rivas and now someone else, Jeff Jeffrey, by way of Twitter, stated, Oscar Rivas will face Ryan Rozicki, 13-0, 13 KOs, says the bruiser for the vacant WBC title at Bridgerweight. It's not the hoped-for opponent, but for such a short delay before October 22nd, it's totally understandable. It seems they're trying very hard to get this Bridgerweight title fight over the line, and maybe it's because the goddamn thing actually sold out, if you can believe that, per a tweet from Yvonne Michelle. All tickets for Rivas vs. Jennings 2 on October 22nd found a taker. A huge thank you to everyone who quickly secured a ticket to this historic WBC Light Super Heavyweight World Championship bout.
What happened to Brian Jennings?
According to Papa Jennings, he says 14 days quarantine, no trainer, no gym, no running, no last week of sparring, no sunlight, whatever food is available, and I don't get out of quarantine until the 21st, which is the day of the weigh-in. How can that work for a world-class fighter fighting for 12 rounds? We talked about this in passing in one of my previous videos, and apparently it's for these reasons that Bryant Jennings decided to not go through with the fight. I don't think the fight represents a big enough financial incentive for Brian to fight under these circumstances. He actually lost their first meeting, their first fight, approximately 2 years ago in January of 2019. That's a little over 2 years ago. He was stopped in the 12th round.
The show must go on.
Oscar Rivas, the Colombian-born, Canadian-based fighter who fought in the Pan American Games in 2007, beat Kubrat Pulev there and Andy Ruiz Jr. there.
He's only got one recorded loss as a professional.
The loss to Dillian White in July of 2019. He has since rebounded off that loss earlier this year in March against journeyman Silva Lewis. And, I had high hopes for this guy at heavyweight. Seemed like an interesting character, but he's opted to move down. He's opted to be the inaugural Bridgerweight champion. I think he stands a chance of winning that title. I think he stands a good chance of having a long reign as a champion because the competition ain't exactly all that stiff at Bridgerweight. What makes up the Bridgerweight division are journeymen that they pulled from both the cruiserweight and heavyweight divisions. There are no blue chip prospects out there at Bridgerweight. And the other sanctioning bodies, they haven't followed suit.
Yeah, they're not on board yet.
The Bridgerweight division, as it were, is exclusive to the WBC and the WBC only. There is no WBA ranking for Bridgerweights, IBF ranking, or WBO ranking.
At least not yet.
The survival of this division hinges on who's willing to pour money into it.
So far, it's just Yvonne Michelle.
And a handful of smaller promotional outfits. The bigger ones like Matchroom, Queensbury, Top Rank, the PBC, Golden Boy, they ain't got no ponies in that Bridgerweight show. The Bridgerweight division seems to be an attractive proposition for guys that have tried their luck at cruiserweight, tried their luck at heavyweight, and have come up short. This is a much thinner.
It's a shallow talent pool there.
You might notice that Matchroom's own Alen Babic is registered as the number 5 Bridgerweight in the world, but Alen Babic's next fight isn't going to be in the Bridgerweight division. His next fight, the fight with Lucas Brown, that's registered as a heavyweight contest, a Bridgerweight contest. And maybe at some point Alen Babic will move down because he really is on the smaller end of the spectrum as far as heavyweights go. It's going to get difficult for that guy as he steps up in competition, and I could see him moving down to Bridgerweight. But are the names of Oscar Rivas and Alen Babic, Joel Tamboy Jaco, are these the guys that are supposed to carry this division and bring attention to it?
Because you're only going to get so far.
There's a grand total of about 31, 32 Bridgerweights registered in the WBC's Bridgerweight rank standings. The one that seems to have the most buzz around them right now really is Alen Babic, but I reiterate, Alen's next fight ain't a Bridgerweight contest. It's not registered as such. It's listed as a heavyweight contest.
So maybe at some point he'll move down.
He's not there yet. On October 22nd, Oscar Rivas is going to be taking on unbeaten Ryan Rozicki. Sports a professional record of 13 wins, no losses, no draws, with 13 knockouts.
Mostly pedestrian level competition.
Guy who moved up from cruiserweight up to Bridgerweight. Canadian-based fighter, 26 years old, not an old guy.
With all the fucking tattoos.
He kind of looks like Conan O'Brien.
You know what I heard? I heard Conan O'Brien actually used to box in his day. I heard that. But, Oscar, he's going to be fighting this guy. Yeah, I like Oscar for the fight. Oscar's been in there with more experienced fighters, by far, than Ryan Rozicki. Oscar's been in there with Bryant Jennings. He's been in there with Dillian
Very
White.
good amateur background.
I think Oscar has all the makings of what is set to be the next Bridgerweight champion. And we'll see what happens after that. We'll see how much attention and money they can garner for this fledgling division that hasn't seemed to have gotten off the ground yet. In men's bantamweight news, it appears that Johnriel Casimero, the reigning WBO champion at this weight, has until the 11th of this month to reach terms for a mandatory fight against his mandatory challenger, Paul Butler. We already know that things didn't work out with Nonito.
That unification match.
And regardless of who you want to blame for it, whether you want to blame Johnriel Casimero or you want to blame Nonito Donaire, one way or another, it all equates to the same thing. The unification match ain't happening. And when all of that fell apart, the order from the WBO came down last week on the 22nd. The combatants have exactly 20 days to reach terms for an agreement, or it will go to a purse bid.
This is flying low under the radar.
Which only accents the severity of the situation for Johnriel Casimero, who doesn't have the fanfare of a Nonito Donaire. He certainly doesn't have the fanfare of a Naoya Inoue. If you can't unify with either of those guys, there's not much chance of your fights getting attention, especially on the heels of the lackluster showing he had with Guillermo Rigondeaux. He was fortunate enough to hang on to his world title, though if you ask me, there were no winners in that fight. It was a stinker all the way through, all the way around. Guillermo stunk up the joint, and so did Johnriel. He had a challenger in Guillermo Rigondeaux who was acting more like a defending champion, doing laps around the ring instead of taking it to the champion, and you had a champion who was unable to cut off the ring against a moving target.
Johnriel looked awful.
And so did Guillermo. Everybody lost that night as far as I'm concerned, including the people who were unfortunate enough to have to watch that.
Could you imagine having to score a fight like that?
I don't envy the judges that had to score that thing, I'll tell you that much. But Johnriel, he's under orders to face his mandatory challenger, Paul Butler. Guy who sports a professional record of 33 wins, 2 losses with 15 knockouts, and he's only ever been stopped once. He lost one to the former IBF champion, Emmanuel Rodriguez, and he lost one before that to the former WBO champion, Zolani Tete. Grand total of 35 professional contests, 35 professional bouts, and Paul Butler has only ever lost 2 championship caliber fighters, championship level opponents like Emmanuel Rodriguez, Zolani Tete. So that lets you know a little bit more about what it is Johnriel is going to have to deal with. I mean, all things considered, it's not a bad fight, it's not a bad opponent, and if nothing else, it's a mandated opponent, so it's not like Johnriel has much of a choice. Short of a unification match, he can't skirt around this.
And the clock's ticking.
You know, Nonito, the reigning WBC champion, he's under orders as well. He's under orders to face Raymart Gaballo, who was last in action against the former IBF bantamweight champion, Emmanuel Rodriguez. I mean, it seems like as soon as things fell apart between Nonito and Johnriel, the sanctioning bodies didn't waste any time ordering fights for both of those guys. Raymart Gaballo, he was last in action against Emmanuel Rodriguez, which I just mentioned. That was a PBC card, and it's possible that Nonito's next fight might end up on PBC's Isolation Island. It might.
Nonito's not with a major outfit.
A major outfit that has some kind of a platform deal that could finance the fight themselves.
I think Donaire versus Gaballo is going to happen on a PBC card.
Unless the Donaire people pull a Hail Mary, manage to start negotiations with Naoya Inoue, who I don't think has any mandatories due. I haven't heard any orders come down for either the WBA or IBF titles he's in possession of, unless Nonito can, at the last minute, make something happen with that guy and use that unification match to circumvent this mandatory challenger, this mandated fight.
Looks like he's going back to the PBC.
That's the look of it. And because it's the WBC we're talking about, because they're flexible, because they're lenient in certain situations, I think it's possible, if Nonito works fast, and Inoue as well, to do a fight and then use that fight to get an exemption. But, I mean, I don't even know if that's happening.
And the order from the WBC's already come down.
I'd like to think that it's not too late to make something happen, but in the end, that's just wishful thinking. Ultimately, I get the sense that, Nonito's going to have to fight Gaballo, and in all likelihood, it's going to be on a PBC card.
Doesn't look like we're getting undisputed at bantamweight.
And I'm not the least bit surprised. This is what I expected. We're not going to get it this year, and if I'm being honest, I don't think we're going to get it next year either. And finally, per a tweet from Michael Benson, Alexander Usyk on his heavyweight undisputed goal, he was quoted as saying, "I don't want to wait 2 or 3 years. In the heavyweight category, this has not happened, if I am not mistaken, for about 30 years. I want to fight whoever has the WBC belt." And I think that will prove difficult for Alexander Usyk, even if he beats Anthony Joshua for a second time. The politics of boxing have long prevented fights like this from happening for the longest time. Eddie Hearn stated how Anthony Joshua will approach the Alexander Usyk rematch. This game plan is not box and move. This plan is go in and hurt Usyk. It will be entirely different. Write him off at your peril. 3-time heavyweight champion. That's the new dream. Alexander Usyk himself admitted that there were shots that got through for Anthony Joshua that hurt him. Shots up top, shots downstairs. Anthony Joshua is obviously the bigger man in the fight. And I do think he has enough power, packs enough punch, that he could knock out Alexander Usyk. But it's all about hitting the gas, going for it, and risking it all. Because if you don't, it's just going to be a repeat.
And no, it's not as simple as giving him the bum's rush.
You've got to use everything you know, everything you learned from the first fight, and apply it to the second fight to be more aggressive. And it's not as simple as just charging the guy. All that's going to do is create a bull and matador situation. And this guy, he's got the feet for it. He's got the pivots, he's got the shifts, and he's got the counters. The counters that disarmed Anthony Joshua and prevented that right hand of his from making more of a dent, more of an appearance. If you're asking me what I think Anthony Joshua has to do to win the second fight, to succeed in the second fight where he didn't in the first, He's obviously got to be more aggressive. I mean, that's a very generic answer to what isn't a very generic question. It's not that simple. I think Anthony Joshua has to commit to his jab, step into it, throw it with bad intentions, and follow up with a big right hand, even if it lands on Alexander Usyk's guard.
Let him feel your power.
You have to take the initiative, of course. You got to take the initiative, but you have to take it with the understanding that you are going to get hit with shots. You are going to get hit with jabs. You are going to get hit with counter left hands, straight left hands.
Shots are gonna get through.
But you're the bigger man. You've got to keep that chin tucked and those hands high as you impose your size and your power on this guy.
Jab at his head.
Jab at his chest, jab at his midsection. Use different variations of the jab to try and get this guy's respect. Instead of trying to fence with him and get off a single clean shot, make it hard for him to throw. Hell, make it so he don't want to throw because he's feeling your power. He's feeling your size.
Anthony has to up his work rate.
He has to up the tempo. Easier said than done, I know, because that's going to be even more taxing on his energy reserves than the chess match was, the chess match from the first fight, but that's what he has to do.
Can't fight this fight on Usyk's terms.
And he can't hope to get the job done with a single shot, a singular moment. No, you've got to punish this guy, rough him up, and invite him to the heavyweight division properly.
Punch him in the arms.
Punch him, goddammit, and wear him down. Cause him to wilt. A lot was made of how Alexander Usyk managed to maintain lead foot advantage while these guys were fencing with their jabs. Well, you don't go in there fencing with your jab this time. You shoot it. You shoot it, you step into it, and bring over that right.
Even if it don't land clean.
Make the ring a small and uncomfortable place for what is the smaller man. The risk here is that in upping the tempo, Anthony Joshua may burn through his energy reserves that much faster than he did the first time out. The first fight went 12 rounds. You don't want that this time. You want to finish this guy.
You want to make sure it don't go to the cards.
This one don't go to distance. This ain't going to be a fight of finesse. This is going to be a fight you try to win through strength of arms, and that's what you got working for you. Size and power. So that before it becomes about Usyk's undisputed campaign, he's got to get through you one more time, and you make sure this time he don't do that.